Avoiding burnout and burnout recovery. Are you doing too much? Today I want to talk about a trap I see a lot of people fall into. It's a bit counterintuitive and I know I've fallen for it myself several times. It's the trap of trying to avoid burnout or recover from burnout by doing less. Hi everyone, Paul Mikulev here from Autism from the Inside. I make weekly videos sharing the human side of autism, so make sure you hit subscribe to get the latest content. Now, I don't know about you, but I spend a lot of my life at the moment trying to avoid burnout, trying to manage my energy, find a way to get my work done. I put time and effort into trying to schedule recovery time and finding alternate ways that I can participate in society and all of these kinds of things. In fact, this issue of managing energy, managing burnout, avoiding burnout, recovering from burnout, it's probably the number one issue that comes up in my life coaching work. It's the experience of waking up every day, every week, every month with no spoons to start with. And it seems like no matter how much I rest, the problem doesn't seem to be getting much better. So some common questions to ask are things like, how do I rest better? What are some activities that I can do to help me recover? How can I do less? How can I remove some of my commitments? Or maybe more practical things like, how do I make sure I go to bed at a reasonable hour and do the things I sort of know that I'm supposed to do to get more energy? But for some reason, nothing seems to be working. So this is a really common frame, a common way of thinking about this kind of thing. But actually, if we look a little closer, hidden in all those questions is a kind of underlying assumption. And that's the trap that I'm referring to. If the assumption is, okay, I need to get my work done and I don't have the energy, so I need more energy, so I need to find a way to rest better and I need to find a way to reduce the things that I'm doing so that I have more energy and I can manage my everyday life. The assumption in that is that the problem is with how much energy I have. Another way of looking at this is, what if the problem is with my environment? What if my environment is particularly stressful or particularly draining? Maybe that is one of the reasons that I don't have a lot of energy. So something that I've realized recently that has helped me a little bit is recognizing that work is not just my time at work spending my energy. Actually, the recovery process, the recharge process, in a way, it's part of the whole process, which means that recovery time, recharge time, is actually work as well. In other words, if I get up in the morning and I go to work and I use all my energy and then I come back in the evening and I spend the rest of the evening recharging my energy, and then I get up the next morning and I go to work and I use all of my energy and I come back and I spend the rest of the evening recharging all of my energy, I actually haven't had a break. I haven't had any rest. I've been working the whole time because the recharge time is only necessary because of the work itself. It's a direct consequence of working that I need to recover in this kind of way. So an analogy I have for this is like if you imagine a watering can for a garden, and 24 hours a day, the can is either sitting under the tap, getting more water in it, or it's being taken around the garden and having that water poured out over the plants in the garden. The time that the watering can spends sitting under the tap getting refilled, it's part of the work. It's not that the watering can is getting a break and it doesn't have to work for a little bit. No, the job is get a can full of water, transport it to the garden, and distribute it as necessary. So in that sense, if my life looks like work, recover from work, work, recover from work, work, recover from work, then actually I've spent 100% of my time working in a sense. Where's my relaxation time? Where's my play time? Where's my connecting with other people or being a part of society time? I haven't had any because I've been working or recovering, which is part of work, 100% of the time. Another way to think about this is if I'm physically sick, I've got the flu or something, I can't get out of bed, I'm not going into work. If I spend all day at home in bed recovering from that illness, I haven't really had a day off as such, have I? It's not like I've gone to the beach and spent some time with my friends. I've been stuck at home in bed, unable to do anything except focus on my recovery. And this is how I often feel trying to avoid burnout. I try to do less and less and focus more on recovery But if recovery is part of work, then I'm trying to avoid burnout by spending more and more of my time at work. Okay, so let me give you an example that will hopefully make this a little bit clearer. When I was at school, when I was at university, I was actually doing pretty well. The subject matter, the actual work of studying, the work of assignments and exams and all of that kind of stuff, it was all right. I was managing fine with that. I had plenty of time. I was doing so many extracurricular activities. I was in a band. I was doing sports. I was catching up with friends. I had a lot of social activities and things like that. And everything was fine. And I thought that I could handle quite a bit in my life because I was doing so many different things. And then I transitioned to full-time work after I finished my engineering degree. And suddenly I was spending 40 to 50 hours a week in an office in front of a computer. What happened? I quickly ran out of energy. I had to quit all of my extracurricular stuff. I was volunteering, I had hobbies, I was playing tennis, I was doing all of these other things, and I basically had to quit all of them because I didn't have any energy left at the end of the day. I used to catch public transport to and from work, and I would download podcasts that I could listen to on the way home. Except I never did because my brain was fried from the 8 to 10 hours in an engineering office. I just didn't have any energy left to listen to new ideas, no matter how interesting they were. It was just too much for my brain to process that extra information. But still, I lasted about 5 years in this kind of role. I survived, I guess. I was very tired. It was clearly unsustainable, but still somehow I managed to get everything done. Now, fast forward to these days where I'm working for myself, and you would think that that would be much easier, but instead I'm finding it really, really difficult to actually work more than like 15, 20 hours a week. Unless, like I was saying before, we count recovery time as work as well, in which case I spend most of my time either working or recovering. So what's the difference? How could I be so fine during university, doing so well, and then managing all right, working 40 to 50 hours a week, and now I can barely manage 20 hours a week? Well, if we go back to the watering can analogy, just because the can is full, it doesn't tell you how quickly it's going to empty itself. You could get to the first plant and just turn the can upside down and the entire contents, all of the fuel, all of the energy goes out in a very, very short amount of time. And sometimes that's good. Maybe that one plant needed all the water. But if not, and you were actually expected to water 50 plants and you've used all of your water on the first plant, well, that's a problem. So paradoxically, the answer to the question that we raised in the beginning, how do I avoid burnout? How do I recover from burnout? Very often, it's not the recovery process that is the problem. Very often, it's the amount of energy that daily living costs, which is the problem. This might be due to your situation at work. It might be due to social considerations and expectations. And this is exactly why masking and burnout are so closely linked. Masking might look good and perform well on the outside, but it takes a lot of extra energy, which means you may water the first few plants and then find that you're actually completely done for the day and you need to go back and recharge already. And the answer may not necessarily be, how can I recharge faster? A better question might be, how can I spend my energy more efficiently? Or in other words, am I spending my energy on things that are actually worthwhile? In which case, great, maybe no problem there. Or am I spending a lot of energy on things that are really just not that important, like masking, for example? So if I'm looking at my work and I'm thinking, I feel so drained by my work, how can I find a better solution here? The answer might not be to do less work. The answer might be asking the question, how can I do work differently? What is the type of work that is the most draining for me? What are the types of activities and the types of situations that are the most draining for me? And if I identify those types of activities and tasks and environments, then what I can do is find a way to minimize those in my life, or ideally eliminate those from my life completely. A slightly different way to look at this is, instead of trying to do less, what I'm trying to do is remove the barriers to doing more. Some of you may know that I've walked the Camino de Santiago a couple of times. And so a lot of my analogies are walking analogies that I've learned from those experiences. And a good one that comes to mind is, how much am I carrying in my backpack? If I try and carry 20 kilos, that's a lot compared to my body weight. That's going to cause me to get tired a lot quicker than if I was only carrying 10 kilos. So the solution might not be walk less every day. The solution might be carry less in my backpack. Do I really need this? Can I leave this behind? If I can let go of the non-essentials like masking or certain other social expectations, maybe it would actually allow me to do significantly more work. I personally find when I get into a flow, when I've done a lot of work and I feel really productive, it helps me to rest. It's like my whole body says, you've done a great job, you can relax now. Whereas if I've spent the whole day trying to push myself to do something and using all of my energy and getting basically nothing done, it's really easy to get to the end of the day and just keep pushing myself even more and saying, well, I can't stop now because the work isn't done yet. And then, again, ironically, the more tired I am, the harder it is to actually rest properly. I don't know if you find this, but when my executive function is completely depleted, when I've had a really hard day or a really stressful situation or something, I just want to zone out and do something comfortable. And unfortunately, comfortable things are not always rejuvenating things. And this is only natural when I've been experiencing pain or discomfort or other types of stress for a long time. I'm naturally going to want to escape all of those things into a place where I'm just okay and those stresses and that pain and that discomfort just isn't there. But unfortunately, when my executive function resource is so depleted, I tend to make fairly poor decisions. In other words, taking the easy option as opposed to the intelligent long-term option. What's an easy option? I know I should go to bed early, but the sooner I go to bed, the sooner I have to face work in the morning. So instead, I'm just going to stay up till 3 a.m. watching movies. Is it relaxing? Kind of. Is it comfortable? Kind of. Is it easy? Definitely. Is it actually rejuvenating? Probably not. Staying up watching movies is not as good for my mind or body as actually getting a full night's sleep. Another really good example is alcohol or other drugs. Can it help me unwind? Yes, potentially. Is it good for my recovery? Absolutely not. It's literally a toxin that my body tries to get rid of as quickly as possible, spending all of its resources to undo the damage that I've done by drinking it in the first place. So these are just a couple of examples. There are so many easy, tempting, sort of nice, comfortable ways to try and escape a situation when you're feeling really tired. And it's also tempting to see these types of behavior as the problem. If only I could go to bed on time instead of playing video games until midnight, maybe I would have more energy in the morning. And there's some truth to that, but the underlying problem often is that my everyday life takes too much out of me and I don't have the resources to adequately recover from that. So yes, looking at better ways to recover might be helpful, but there's also a limit to that. So at some point it might be helpful to ask myself, can I find a way to remove some of the barriers that are making life so difficult? Socializing is a really good example. I hear this a lot in the autistic community. Socializing is difficult, socializing is draining. Okay, well, yes, that's probably been your experience. What if it didn't have to be? What if we removed the difficult, draining aspects of the socializing and the environments that they typically happen in? And what if we kept all the really nice connecting parts that you really enjoy? And this is where, again, the idea of masking and unmasking comes in. What if I can turn up, be myself, spend a reasonable amount of energy without completely killing myself, get what I need in the situation, i.e. have fun, actually have a good time, and then go home feeling okay rather than feeling like I need to go home and now rest and recuperate for 2 days just because I've left the house. So I know this is a little bit easier said than done, and for a lot of us, there are some really significant barriers to doing what I've been talking about. But I guess the overall message that I wanted to discuss a little bit in this video is that there are quite a lot of different ways to look at improving a situation. And if you're trying to avoid burnout or recover from burnout, mostly focusing on doing less, then there might be some other more effective avenues that you could also try. Anyway, I might leave it there for today. I hope you found this video valuable. If you'd like some one-on-one help, I do offer life coaching services, which you can find out about through the Autism from the Inside website. Otherwise, thanks for watching. Please leave a comment if you can. I'd love to hear your experience, and I will see you again next week. Bye.